Hi everyone, my name is Joe Daniele. I'm with Lockheed Martin Flight Service. I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I would just like to welcome you all to the webinar for the Pilot Web. This is an introductory presentation. We're going to talk about how to get onto the Pilot Web. We're going to show you how to register as a new user. We're going to talk about pilot weather briefings, and we're also going to show you how to file flight plans. And just so you know who I am the operations engineer for Flight Service. I work with the engineering group, and I work with the operations personnel as well. And I am a pilot. I've been a pilot for many years. So with that, I'm going to get started. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them in. We have a group ready to receive them, and we will address them as time permits. So without any further ado, I'd like to get right into it. Okay, so we made this very simple. If anybody's called Flight Service in the past 10 years or 20 years, we kept the URL, the address, 1-800-WX-BRIEF, just like the telephone number. So you type in www.1800weatherbrief.com into your browser, and what you see on the screen is what we call our landing page. It gives you news about what's going on at Lockheed Martin, our new innovations and our features that we're bringing forward. It also talks about upcoming events and things like that. We also have a set of how-to videos that are on there. In addition to this video or this webinar being recorded, you can log on and click on any of those how-to videos, and they're very informative, and they give you very good instructions on how to go through the Pilot Web. If you notice up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says Log In. When you're ready, you just click on that button, and when you do, it brings you to this page. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to assume you guys don't have, and gals don't have an account. But it's just like any other service. We ask for your username and a password, and you'll create those. And your username is your email address. And we'll get into that in a minute. So at the bottom there, you see I've highlighted don't have an account, register here. So you click on that. If for some reason you do have an account already and you have forgotten, you can reset your password by clicking on the link next to that red box that is highlighted. But for the purpose of this demo, we'll make like you do not have an account. So we click on that, and it's very simple. This is the extent of the information that you need to enter to create an account. We ask you for your email address, and you enter those in the two fields. And we'll ask your last name or your organization, if you happen to be, like, say, a flying club or a fleet account. Ask you for a phone number, whether it be mobile or home or work. You can enter that in. And we ask you for an aircraft ID. That is an optional field. However, it does help us link this particular profile that you're creating, this account, to a Flight Services profile or account that you've already created in Flight Service, and I'll get into that in a little bit. We ask you for a home base phone number, and then we ask you to confirm the image text below, and you just click the account, you create account button. So let me talk a little bit about marrying the two accounts. If you've called Flight Service, chances are they know who you are. Maybe they've created a profile on you already. If by filling out as much information here as possible, what we'll do under the covers and in the background, we'll marry those two accounts together. So if you have an aircraft that's already stored and you have information in there that you saved, it'll be carried over into your Pilot Web account. So put in all this information, make sure it's good, hit the Create Account button, and you're going to get one of two responses from the system. Let's start with the bottom right. So if you do not have an existing profile or account in the Flight Services system, you'll get a dialog, like I said, on the bottom right there, and it'll tell you that we've just created an account for you. And it gives you your email address and your last name and the information that you put in. If you're not happy with this information, hit cancel, you do it again. Or you confirm and you move on, and you've now created your account. If we have matched your account information to what you've put in the dialog on the previous screen, we'll tell you that we created your account and that we did match it to an existing profile. Now, everything in that profile that we have saved in the flight system, the flight services system, will be carried over into your Pilot Web account, and you do not have to enter in any of that information again. Okay. So I hit OK. The next thing that's going to happen is we're going to send you an email. It's going to have a temporary password in here. So we've made it very simple. Just type in your username, your email address that you provided. You can copy the password and paste it into the password field on the login page. Once you've done that, you hit the sign in button, and we're going to present this dialog you see, change password and acknowledge terms of agreement. Let's start at the top there with the set password. We ask that you change your password right from the start. It's the temporary password we send you is not intuitive for you to remember, so we're asking that you change it. And it's a normal password with the same rules that I think we're all used to, 8 to 32 characters, and you have to have 3 of the 4 following special types of characters. And we give you some warnings like you can't reuse your current password and things like that. But the first thing we ask you to do is change your password. We also present to you a user disclaimer and privacy statement. We ask that you read through this information and accept what you're reading. When you do that, you're going to be given a confirmation dialog box, and it's going to tell you that you successfully changed your password and you're ready to go. It's that simple. Your account has been created at this point. What I would like to do before I move into showing you how to get a briefing and do a briefing and file a flight plan is just a word on creating your account, updating your user profile, and updating your aircraft profile. It's really important that you provide as much information as possible in the user account information. We use this information in the unlikely event that there's a problem and we need to initiate search and rescue. We have all the information that's necessary to start doing that search. We also ask that you put in all of the aircraft information that you know, especially your aircraft performance characteristics, your climb rate, your cruise, your descent rate. We use this to calculate a better nav log for you. We use this to, when we're generating briefings, we do something called time analysis for different adverse conditions, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But the more information you put in the user profile and the aircraft profile, it helps this system, and it helps you create better nav logs and a better service. All right, I would like to talk a lot about pilot weather briefings. The first thing you'll do is, this is what we call our dashboard, and you'll see that across the top it's laid out very tab formatted, where you have home, you have weather, flight planning, and briefing. The top dashboard, you hover over those items and it will display the items below it. So you hover over flight planning and briefings, and it'll display the 4 options that you see there. Briefings, flight plans, and nav logs, and that's what we're going to focus on in this part of the presentation. And we have other things that you can do, like file Alaska VFR flight plans, do location briefings. They are briefings with up to 10 locations, and we also provide a history of what you've done over the past 15 days. We're not going to cover those, but again, if you go to the videos on that homepage, it'll give you a nice overview of everything that you see there. Okay, so what you're going to do is now click on Flight Plans, Briefings, Flight Plans, and Navlogs. And what it's going to do is going to bring you into your flight plan mask. Everybody is familiar with this. This is a standard NAS domestic flight plan. Now you'll see that I have things highlighted in red. And I didn't have to enter those. Those are automatically pulled in because I entered them into my aircraft profile. It stores my aircraft ID, the type of aircraft it is, the aircraft equipment, the airspeed, the color of the aircraft, and it also gives the pilot information. That's a step that I don't have to do ever, as long as I have that information in my profile. You'll notice that there is a section, the departure date and time, that is highlighted in blue. That doesn't come from a profile. What our system does, it defaults to the current date. And what the system also does is it defaults the time zone to whatever you have your PC or laptop or iPad set to. It'll default to that. And you can change that to anything. Mine is set to Eastern Daylight Time. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in the Rockville area. You'll notice that all the other fields are blank. We haven't started with anything yet, and we're going to get into the different fields and how you fill them out in a bit. There's two ways to populate the information in a flight plan. What I wanted to point out, what I think is a very powerful tool, are your favorite flight plans. I have several flight plans saved in my favorites. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the AOO to MCN, which is Altoona to Macon. And when I select that, it populates all that information, everything that I had stored in there, into my flight plan mask. Now, if I didn't do that, I would have to enter the flight rule. I would have to enter the altitude at which I want to fly this route. And then you have your departure field, you have your route field, your destination, so on and so forth. What I do want to point out, you'll notice that the time in the departure date and time field is not filled in. Even though I saved this as a favorite, it's not going to give me a time for departure. It'll keep today's date, but I have to physically enter the time I want to depart. For this, we're going to focus on a standard briefing, but I wanted to point out that we have Outlook briefings, we have abbreviated briefings, and you'll notice up by the departure field, we have area briefings. The destination, I can get an area briefing as well. Same thing for my alternates. So we offer a variety of different types of briefings. And you'll see that I did highlight scheduled email briefing. That's in blue. If you want a briefing or a schedule, you can schedule a briefing. Say you're planning a flight for the night before. You go online, you check out the weather, everything looks good, you follow your flight plan, but you want to be on the safe side. Click on scheduled email briefing, set up a briefing for, say, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., we will generate a briefing and email it to you. It's a complete briefing. Look at it. If you're happy with what you see in there, great. If not, go in, go online, get some more information, or even call a flight service specialist. Okay. All right, so what I've done here is I've clicked on the standard briefing button. You will not get both of these simultaneously. These are two different dialogues that will be presented to you depending on what you have saved in your aircraft profile. Let's start on the right. You'll notice that you get a warning there. This is because In one instance, I did not save or did not put any aircraft the performance characteristics in my profile, and it's telling me that I cannot. There's no aircraft performance data, so I'm not going to be able to calculate the nav log using that information. It'll only use the winds aloft information. The dialog on the left says that I do have my information in the system, and that I'm ready to now generate a briefing. And it gives you a couple warnings there, like on the bottom there, it says if you're flying outside the United States, check the data as soon as practical after entering foreign airspace, things like that. So bottom line is, on the left-hand side, this is telling you that you're going to get a briefing and you're going to be afforded all the features that we have on our website. On the right-hand side, it's warning you that you should be putting in your aircraft performance characteristics to get a better nav log and a better briefing. All right, so with that, I'm going to go into the briefing. At a high level, this is the layout of our briefing. You'll notice it's constructed in 3 sections. You'll have your tabs across the top. You'll have your text portion along the left-hand side there, and then you have your graphics portion along the right-hand side. We're very proud of the fact that we create all of our briefings with a route of flight, and you'll see as we go in and through this briefing that we overlay the phenomenon like your airmets and your sigmets and convective sigmets on top of your route of flight to give you a very visual representation of what that flight is going to look like. Let's spend a minute just on the layout. Across the top you see there's a plain text button. If you click that, we will put everything in plain text for you. We have what we call a NextGen view. Right now, you're familiar, everybody I'm sure is familiar of, you take a 50-mile flight and you're given a 60-page textual briefing. What we've done in the NextGen view, or what we call NextGen mode, we break it down into segments. And we step through, in this particular case, there's 2 TFRs. We step through them one by one to show you exactly where they are and when you're going to penetrate those TFRs and things like that. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. We give you a summary of your flight plan. The standard brief across the top there gives you your flight plan. Register for briefing updates. You can register. We'll send you updates to your briefing when you want them. And we give you the ability to email this briefing or print this briefing. All right. This is very tab structured. As you can see, we start with adverse conditions, and you'll notice that they have yellow icons in the tab. That's an indication that you have not visited that tab. You have not looked at that tab yet. You'll notice that the TFR tab does not have a yellow icon. It's because I'm in that tab, and now I'm there. I'm reading it. The other thing I want to point out is if you notice in the Sigmet tab, there's a 0 there. That means there are no Sigmets. There are no convective Sigmets. There are no urgent PIREPs, things like that. So whenever there's a 0 there in that tab, you don't have to look in there because there is nothing in there for you to look at. Just a way to save some time. Okay, we also have the graphics pane, and I want to spend a little bit of time just going over the layout of the graphics pane. We give you the ability to change your background map. Right now it's on terrain and color. It's a terrain map. We give you the ability to change the type of imagery that you're looking at. Right now it's a composite that we're looking at, but you can pick winter storm, you can pick ecotops if you'd like. Aside from that, you can pick any auxiliary layers you want to overlay on the map. You can pick nav age. You can show all your nav age, your routes, your military routes, your jet routes, your Victor routes, things like that, your airports. heliports. We can even overlay sectionals on there. And for every type of imagery that we present to you, we will give you or present or display the legend that goes along with it. So you're not you don't have to figure out what the intensity levels of those images are. And in the upper left-hand corner there, you have the ability to zoom in and out if you want. If you wanted to zoom in a little bit better on that route, you can zoom in as far as you want and zoom back out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get into a little bit of what we call our NextGen briefing. Huge safety factors, very efficient. We do automatic time analysis, and we do it for the items you see there, TFR, air mets, etc. What we do, rather than you, the pilot, figure out where that air met is located, we draw it for you with respect to your route of flight. Then what we do, based on your aircraft characteristics and your winds and the winds aloft, we calculate when you're going to enter that particular phenomenon, that particular air met, and we calculate when you're going to exit that air met. If the times are in red, that means that that area is going to be active when that flight passes that area. If the numbers happen, if the times happen to be in yellow or orange, it means it's going to be active within an hour of your flight time. And if it's green, it means it's not going to impact your flight. It's outside of an hour. I shouldn't say not impact your flight, but it's outside of an hour. So what we've done is we've taken the guesswork out of when you think you're going to pass that particular air met. And more importantly, we draw it for you. Much easier to represent or get a visual representation, a mental picture, situational awareness of where that air met is with respect to your route. Another thing we've done is summarization, and this one in particular is for METARs. If you think back when you call flight service, the specialists, they're incredibly trained. They're highly trained in what they do, and they can look at these METARs and tell you exactly what the conditions are, and they summarize along the route of flight. They don't sit there and read off 30 METAR stations. What they do is summarize the METAR stations for you. And what we've done is electronically taken those METAR stations and summarized them for you. The red box up top there says 2 of 4 METAR summaries. We've taken that grouping that you see on the right-hand side there, bound in yellow, that grouping, and we summarize that for you. And what's really important here is we highlight the worst condition in that group of stations. So you don't have to read. I think we have, 15 weather stations there. You don't have to read all 15 stations. You can if you'd like, but look at that summary section up top, and that gives you exactly what you need to know from SJT over to JSO. The other thing I want to point out, on the bottom you'll see a legend. Again, we have that on every screen. It tells you what the color coding is for the METARs, and I think we all know VFR is green, marginal is blue, IFR and low IFR. So again, rather than having to read 15 to 20 METARs, we present to you in summary fashion. TAFs. We do time analysis on TAFs. These are a tremendous piece of information for pilots. They're great information to have, but I know I can't look at a TAF and know exactly when I'm going to be passing that TAF when I depart. What we've done is we calculate the passing time when you're going to pass that particular station, and we highlight it down the left-hand side. I'm going to be passing, let's take the one that's down there in red, RIV. We're going to be passing Riverside at 7:05 Zulu. I've taken all the guesswork out of when I'm going to be passing that particular station. And I've highlighted that condition. As you can see, it's going to be marginal. You can see on the left-hand side, you have marginal. It's highlighted blue. On the right-hand side in the graphic, you can see blue as well. But you say, why do I have a red? Why is part of that icon over there red? Well, if you notice, on the left-hand side, it says plus 55 minutes. That means if you're late by 55 minutes, you're going to be into the next forecast time period. And what we do is we present that to you so you can see that if I'm late, I'm going to be in a different condition. So as you're traveling through that area, you may want to plan accordingly that if I'm late going through Riverside, I may be in IFR conditions. You'll notice also we have highlighted the thunderstorms in the vicinity. Those are important. Even though something can be VFR, like the condition down there at Palm Springs, PSP, you have VFR conditions, but you have thunderstorms in the vicinity. So, again, just something that we wanted to highlight and bring out to the pilot, make them aware. Situational awareness, that's what it's all about, and we do it graphically. Smart plain text translations. All too often you take an entire, this is a convective segment. I don't need to convert all of the fixed radials into English. What I do is I take the box that's on the bottom and I convert it into something that is useful to me, and that's the summary up top, that we have areas of thunderstorms moving from, so on and so forth. So I've taken 6 lines of text. That's most of it is just telling me where it's located and the name of it, and I've summarized it into 1 line, 2 sentences for you. More importantly, on the right-hand side, I've graphed it for you. You know exactly where it is with respect to your route of flight. Again, smart plain text translation. We just don't dump everything into plain text for you. If you want to see it all in plain text, just go up to the upper left-hand side and you'll see plain text. But this is a smart plain text translation for you. Filtering. We do a lot of filtering in our system. And one of the things we're really proud of is the area forecast. I often like to quiz the pilots on this particular route of flight. If you're from the east, you may have the answer, and you may know. Going from Lynchburg down into Mount Airy. And if anybody's on the east, as a pilot on the East Coast, that's an area forecast. That's a route that will give me an area forecast for the northeast and the southeast, which means I'm going to get an area forecast from Maine down to Florida. Useless when I'm flying from Virginia into North Carolina. What we've done is we only give you the states or areas that you penetrate in your route of flight. So in this particular example, we'll get the West Virginia, Delaware, and Maryland area forecast. And when I click to the next page, you'll get, when I click the arrow up top there, I would get the North Carolina area forecast. If for some reason you really want to see the area forecast for Maine, go up top and deselect the NextGen view. I highly don't recommend you do that. If you want to, it's there for you. You can look at it. This gives you a very concise picture of what you're going to be flying in. Loud and clear, we heard the pilot say, why do I need winds aloft to 53,000 feet? I'm flying a Cessna. That's a good complaint. What we've done is we've given them the ability, we give you guys the ability to filter out anything outside of 4,000 feet of your filed altitude. You'll see the button on the left-hand side, the upper left there, it says altitudes within 4,000 feet. If I deselect that, I'll see all my altitudes up to 53,000 feet. What I've done is I've clicked it. You can see in the blue that my filed or requested altitude is 95. And I highlight, the system highlights that particular row. And then all I do is, all the system does is gives me 2,000 feet, 4,000 feet above, 2,000 feet below, and then 4,000 feet below. And that's it. And you'll see there are 6,000 feet, 9,000 feet, and 12,000. Those are standard levels, so we included them as well. But the bottom line here is, if I'm flying at 95, chances are I'm not going up higher than 13.5, or, so we picked 4,000 feet above and 4,000 feet below. Again, not trying to take the thinking out of this. We're trying to make what we present easier to assimilate, easier to understand, and focus on these columns versus an additional 9 columns that you just don't need. And you see on the right-hand side, we show you where the weather stations are located. We filter obstruction NOTAMs. There are a lot of obstruction NOTAMs, and you'll see that we have the ability now to select. We can exclude obstructions that are outside 1,000 feet of your filed altitude. I don't have that selected right now because I just wanted to show you how many obstructions are in this very short flight. There's a lot of them there. A way to key in on and focus on the ones that are important, we've highlighted the ones that are within 500 feet of your filed altitude red. Any obstruction that's within 1,000 feet of your filed altitude, we highlighted orange. Anything beyond 1,000 feet of your filed altitude, we put in black. So what you do, or what you can do, if you click on that button that says exclude obstructions beyond 1,000 feet of filed altitude, all of the obstructions that are highlighted in black will go away, will be removed from the display. And that leaves you with 2 of them that are within 500 feet and 1 of them that's within 1,000 feet. Again, from a visual representation, it just makes it so much easier to focus on the 2 obstructions or 3 obstructions that are important and could be critical to your route of flight. Obstruction, that should say obstruction nav aids. I apologize for that. You'll notice that, again, this short flight from Monterey down to San Diego, there are a lot of obstruction, navigational NOTAMs. So what we've given the pilot the ability to do is select or deselect the items that they don't want to see, the NOTAMs that won't affect their route of flight. I know en route, I do not care about ILS outages or NOTAMs. I don't care about NDBs. I don't care about TACANs. I'm not a military pilot anymore. So what that does is it takes out all of the NOTAMs that are not relevant to me, and it leaves me with the ones that are important, like the VORs or the DMEs, things like that. Again, just something that we've done to lessen the amount of information that is shown. On the bottom right there, you'll see that we use standard symbology, and again, it's a legend down there, so for easy reference. PIREPs, probably one of the more useful items to a pilot. You'll notice that rather than just give you words that tell you what the condition is or what that PIREP is, we put them on a map for you and overlay your route. We color code the urgent PIREPs red, so you know right away that you've got a PIREP, an urgent PIREP along your route. And as you step through, we highlight the particular PIREP that you're stepping through. Again, unless you have all the nav aids and all your airports down to a science in your area, this becomes very useful to give you a visual representation of where those PIREPs are located with respect to your route of flight. Another important aspect that we, for efficiency, that we think really helps pilots, and we know help pilots because pilots have been asking for this, is the concept or notion of a Delta briefing. If you request a briefing, a standard briefing, and say come back within 6 hours and request another briefing, we will insert a tab called Delta. If there are any adverse conditions that have changed since your last briefing, we will put them all in this tab. Everything that has changed with respect to TFRs, closed, unsafe runways or airports, convective SIGMETs, et cetera, airmets, things like that. Everything is brought in here. Now, it's not a replacement for a full briefing. It's just to give you a highlight, an update as to what has changed with respect to your last briefing. Sort of like when you call flight service and you say, hey, I got my briefing 2 hours ago. Can you give me the changes? All right, so that is all for briefings. I'm going to talk about filing flight plans. So you access filing flight plans the same way you do briefings. We did that on purpose. We want you to go to one location to get your briefings. We want you to go to one location to get your flight plans and your nav logs. We didn't want the pilot to have to jump around from page to page to get a briefing, then go to another page to file a flight plan, go to a different page to get a nav log. So that's why we put it all in one place. And this should look familiar. This is the flight plan mask that I brought up earlier. And again, if you're starting from scratch, this is what's presented. However, if you go right from a briefing and you say, okay, I'm comfortable with this briefing, I'm really good, all the information would be populated here. All you have to do is hit the file button on the bottom, but we'll get to that. What I wanted to do is highlight that this is the domestic flight plan mask. You'll see that highlighted in the upper right there where I've circled domestic. Some people call it a NAS flight plan, the equivalent of a domestic flight plan. Again, you would fill out all the information and then hit the file button. What I wanted to do is also just quickly highlight the ICAO flight plan mask. Very similar to the domestic mask, the NAS mask. There are some fields that are definitely different, and they're trickier than the domestic flight plan mask. The aircraft equipment is very different. The surveillance equipment is different. The other information field that you see there in the middle on the right there, very intensive, and you have to match up things. But what we do in our system is we give you help dialogues all the way through this. And if you enter something in a departure field that requires something to be added in the other information field, we do it for you automatically. And vice versa. If you happen to put something in the other information field which causes another field to be impacted, we do that for you automatically. And like I said, the little magnifying glasses to the right of each field gives you help, and you can hover, and I'll show you that in a minute. The best thing to do for your ICAO flight plan mask, and just like the domestic flight plan mask, fill in one and save it as a favorite. This way, everything in there stays and is recalled when you call up that favorite flight plan. If it's an aircraft, your radios aren't going to change, your survival equipment isn't going to change, unless you change it out, and then obviously you have to modify your flight plan. The number of jackets that you have, life jackets that you have on board, things like that. Those will all stay the same. So when you save that as a favorite, all of that information is saved in there. Your aircraft equipment actually is brought in from your profile, so you don't even have, that's not even part of a favorite flight plan that you have to worry about. However, if you override anything in here and save it as a favorite, we save it just as you put it in. The bottom line here is don't be afraid of this mask. It's different, no doubt. But it is something that I think we're all going to have to get used to. We've been filing NAS flight plans and domestic flight plans for years. There is movement afoot within the FAA to have all flight plans filed in ICAO format. And to be honest with you, it's a good thing. It's a much more powerful flight plan mask. And I think the sooner we get on board with it, it'll just make life easier for all of us. All right, so again, to populate a flight plan mask, just select a favorite or re-enter all the information from scratch. You have the choice, whatever you'd like to do. I selected a favorite, and it brought everything into my flight plan mask. Everything looks good. I entered in a departure time. Departure date. For filing a flight plan, you can actually put in a departure date several days in advance. If you know you're going to be going next week, file your flight plan. We'll take it and we'll store it. We'll hold on to it. Even IFR flight plans, we'll take them and we'll store them and we'll send them to center when appropriate, when our system sends them. But everything's good here. Once you have everything in, you hit the file button. You're going to get one of two dialogues based on what type of flight plan that you're filing. You have VFR flight plans and IFR flight plans, obviously. If you file a VFR flight plan, we're going to send back a dialogue to you or a confirmation box that your flight plan has been successfully filed. And we'll also let you know if you have any services that you've subscribed or that you've registered for. In this particular case, I'm subscribed or I'm registered for Easy Activate, Easy Close. That's a service that we provide. Everything that we do have on our website, it is a free service. What this does, and I'll get into this briefly, for VFR flight plans, if you want to have this service, what we'll do is we will send you an email 30 minutes prior to your departure time. When you are ready to activate your flight plan, you select the link that's in that email or text message, and your flight plan is open at that point in time. So the caution here is you're sitting on the ramp and you're doing your run-up, don't hit the activate button, and you're rolling out and you're at the hold line, then you hit your activate button. But the point is, you don't have to call flight service while you're up in the air, or to tell them, or leave center frequency or who's ever ATC frequency. So same thing with Easy Close. 30 minutes prior to your arrival time, we'll send you an email. Get down on the ground. What's the first thing everybody does nowadays? They're checking their iPhones or their phones for messages. We'll send you an email or a text message. You hit that link, and we will close your flight plan for you. You don't even have to call. We'll do it all electronically. Now, you can't activate a flight plan electronically yet for an IFR flight plan. We're working on that. But if you file an IFR flight plan, we will send you a confirmation or display a confirmation to you that we have sent that flight plan to center. If you do not get this message, if you do not get a confirmation that we've accepted, that center has accepted it, you know that it did not get through. You either go back online and see what's wrong, or you can call flight service and they can pull up your flight plan as well. For a VFR flight plan, you'll get one dialogue. For an IFR flight plan, you'll get a different dialogue. And what I have highlighted down there on the bottom right is return flight. Obviously, flying somewhere 9 times out of 10, you're coming back to that same location. You can hit that return flight plan, and it'll create a new flight plan and just reverse everything for you. Obviously, you have to review the information you have in there. We will not put in an altitude, and we won't put in a time. So those are things you have to enter in there. Okay, so now I want to activate my VFR flight plan. I'm not using the Easy Activate service that I haven't subscribed to it. So I'm on the pilot web, and I hit the Activate button. Dialog is presented to me. It defaults to the current date and time. What we're allowing the pilot to do is activate 30 minutes in the past and up to 30 minutes in the future. That's to say you're on the ramp, and say you don't want to fumble with your iPad or your iPhone while you're taxiing out. While you're on the apron and the ramp, you can activate, say, 15 minutes in the future. Flight service will not open that flight plan until the time is reached that you put in that activation time. So again, you're on the ramp, put in your time, 15 minutes in the future. You know, it typically takes 10 to 15 minutes to taxi out, and you're good. The good news is, let's say you missed that by a good bit, and you want to amend that flight plan. You can amend the flight plan at any point in time, however you want. You can amend your estimated time en route, which then will adjust your arrival time, things like that. Once you activate, we will give you a dialogue that tells you you are now on an active flight plan. And as everybody knows, we have a search and rescue timer that starts off when you reach your time of arrival. At 20 minutes and 30 minutes beyond, we will start a search and rescue for you. So please do not activate until you're ready to activate. All right. Alrighty. I think I am okay. I got one or two more slides. What I wanted to do is just jump back to the home page. And you'll see that the home page is structured in such a way that it displays the active flights that you have, any proposed flights that you may have filed, and any scheduled email briefings that you have requested. You're flying from point A to point B. You're going to come back. One of them one leg is active. The other one is proposed. You can request route briefings. You can close your flight plans online. Anything that you can do from the flight plan mask, not everything, but most things you can do from the flight plan mask, you can do from this page, the home page. And the last thing I want to show you are just some quick helpful tips. Start in the upper left, and actually a couple of those boxes up there. If you hover over, say, flight rule, or if you hover over aircraft color, any of the field names, we will display help dialog boxes that show you the format of that particular field. If you click on it, it gives you more extensive information. So when you hover, it just gives you a highlight of what that format looks like. If you enter if you click on, say, the magnifying glass next to Denver or in the departure field, we give you a dialog box that allows you to search for different airports. And you can, if Denver's not the right one, or you misspelled, or you have the wrong loc ID in there, pull up this dialog box and then it'll search for you. We give you error messages. If for some reason you put an invalid date in, or if you put a time that doesn't make sense, or if you leave it off, or you put a date that's in the past, we will tell you that something is not right with that flight plan when you hit the file button or even the briefing button. So these are just some, there's a lot of information and a lot of help that's on these screens. And again, what I wanted to do today was just give you a high-level introduction to here is the pilot web. Here's how you register, here's how you get a briefing, and here's how you file. With that, I see we do have a question. Okay, it says, how do I handle multiple aircraft? My flying club has an Archer 2, an Archer 3, and a Dakota. Do I need 3 IDs? Well, that's a really good question, actually. We have something in our system called fleet management, where I belong to the FAA Flying Club. So we have somebody that manages that particular, the fleet of aircraft. What they do is one person enters in under, say, the FAA Flying Club umbrella. They put in all the aircraft. And then that person then gives everybody in the club access to those airplanes. So now I, as a pilot or a student pilot or a member of that club, all I have to do is log on to my account. When I pull up the aircraft, I will see all of the club's aircraft. It prevents me from having to enter in 5 aircraft or 3 aircraft or any aircraft for that. So by having one person be the keeper for the club, that's they'll be the manager of that particular club, and you don't have to put them in all those aircraft. That was a good one. have any help on the website if I have a problem filing ICAO format? Yeah, we do. We have an incredibly talented young man who he has a gift of putting these videos together, and we have one specifically on the format of ICAO flight plans. It's a long video, but we have the ability to jump to different sections in there. And when I tell you it's really, really informative, it's worth the 10 or 15 minutes to go through it, just as a refresher. He links everything, and he talks about everything so clearly, and what to enter into this field and what to enter into that field. And if you put something in the departure field that's non-standard, what goes in the other information field, things like that. So yes, we do. It's on the home page. All of our videos are linked there. And there's another one. Where are the how-to videos for the 1-800-WeatherBrief.com located? YouTube or the 1-800-WeatherBrief.com landing page? The how-to videos are right on the homepage, the landing page. They're located off to the right in the middle there. And we do have our own YouTube channel that has most, if not all, of these videos on there. I think I addressed that one okay, but yeah, our landing page has links to all of these things. How do you amend a filed time of departure on an IFR flight plan that has been filed and accepted? Thanks. Our system is really unique. We allow pilots to amend IFR flight plans up to 30 minutes prior to departure time. Can't get that anywhere else. What we do, we have an interface to the NAS that allows us to do that. So you can file a flight plan, an IFR flight plan, and you can change any aspect of that flight plan, any aspect of it, up to 30 minutes prior to departure time. Once 30 minutes is reached, that flight plan belongs to ATC. We can't touch it. We cannot do it. We have to contact ATC ourselves to manually have that flight plan amended, because at that point, flight scripts are being printed, and it's out of our control at that point. But up to 30 minutes prior, have at it. You can do anything you want from the web. How do you account for fuel stops in filing a flight plan? Open each leg as departing or open entire flight plan at launch? Well, there's two ways to do this. If you have a long flight plan or a long layover, you could do one of two things. If you want to file two flight plans, open one, then close it, open the next one, and close it. That's absolutely acceptable. You can also put in what we call a delay in that route, if you'd like. That's a little more specialized. However, we have, if you click on the route field, you will see how to format a delay in the route. So you can either put in a delay at that point, say an hour, and your flight plan stays open. If it's VFR or search and rescue, timer is extended, and if it's an IFR flight plan, ATC understands that you're held at that point or you're delayed there. I don't belong to a flying club, but I do rent when I fly, but it's not always the same plane. How do I handle that? You can put in multiple aircraft into your profile. That's perfectly legitimate. Then when you bring up your flight plan mask, you're going to have a primary aircraft. Let's say it's November 123, but you also fly November 789. So whichever aircraft you make November 123 your primary, that information is going to be brought into your flight plan mask whenever you log in. If you want to change and you want to use your other aircraft or your friend's aircraft or whomever, you'll go to the flight plan, the aircraft ID box, click on the arrow, and you'll see all of the aircraft that you have stored in your profile. Select the one you want, and it'll bring in all of that information. So that's how you handle that. And another one. All right. What do I do different to register if I already have a profile with the specialist? Nothing. Can I give you a piece of advice, a pointer that would make the linking of the two better? I would ensure that your email address is in the profile that Flight Service has. And the only way to do that, I mean, if you know that you gave them your email address, you're good. Go to the registration page, fill in the information, you're golden. If you're not sure, call Flight Service, give them your tail number, your name, they'll pull up your profile, and if your email address is not there, say, hey, I would like to add my email address to my profile, would you please do that? They'll do it. After that's done, go back and log and request an account, and your profiles will be married. Do you have a tool on your site that provides a glossary of abbreviations used? Yes, we do. As everybody knows, we live in the world of abbreviations and acronyms. There is a button across the top that allows you to access terms, and it'll convert coded into decoded and decoded into encoded. Like if you put in OTS, which is out of service, it means a few things. But if you put in OTS, it will return everything that we have on file for OTS that's aviation related. So yes, we do have a tool on there that provides a glossary. All right. Okay, so, all right. I've gone through all of the questions. What I'd like to do is just some things. I really enjoyed talking tonight and speaking with your fellow pilots. This is a passion of mine, and I love doing this, and I'm honored that I was given the opportunity to talk to you guys. So I was handed a note that says, reminder that this webinar will be available on the pilot web. It's available for a certain amount of time, 2 weeks. It'll be available for 2 weeks. There are instructional videos available on our additional capabilities. We have. I didn't even get into the services that we provide and all of the advanced flight planning tools that we have. It's exhaustive. I mean, you really have to get on the site and take a look. Follow us on Twitter. We do have a Twitter account. We are going to have future webinars. They're TBD. They're going to be announced. I'd like to say that maybe we'll send an email out to our pilot community. The ones that we have on file already, the ones that are registered, we can send an email to that group and say, hey, we're going to do another webinar on whenever. We 24/7 assistance available by phone and email. If you're ever in doubt, on our website we do have a link for help. You can ask questions. We have FAQs on there, questions and answers. And again, we have a team of guys and gals back at our headquarters that enjoy talking to the pilots to help them out. So if you have any questions, give us a shout. Again, I want to thank you very much. I hope you're able to take away something from this webinar. And again, I've truly enjoyed spending some time with you, with the pilots.